what can people expect next? Well, frankly, over the next few days, weeks and months, how do you think this scandal will progress, A, in terms of new information coming out and law enforcement response to it?
Well, I mean, let's go on under either scenario. If Trump is reelected, there'll be aggressive pursuit of this, much more aggressive than there is right now, appropriately. Pursuit that should have happened 2 years ago will happen now, because it is necessary to fix this. This is a cancer at the very top of the Democratic Party. This is not confined to Joe Biden. This is what Hillary Clinton did and got away with. There are 3 or 4 other Democrats who have schemes similar to this, who I'm not going to mention.
Other senators listed in the documents as a go-to, you know, there
are 3 or 4 others that have similar schemes. Is it as big as this? Is it as direct as this? I can't tell you that. If the question is, are there other senators whose children made a lot of money in Ukraine? The answer is yes. And if you ask me the question, is it hard to make money in Ukraine without bribing someone? The answer to that is yes.
It's impossible.
So,
yeah.
And I am told by a Ukrainian prosecutor who knows this better than I do, that like I say, why don't they let you see the documents? He said, don't you realize your government is so worried because there are 3 or 4 big shoes to drop if this opens up? So I've now told you everything I know about it.
Yeah. It's never about what we're talking about. It's always about something else. Obviously.
And thank God for Judicial Watch, because you have uncovered more of it than any organization I can think of.
Yeah.
And then that's going to have to be our role if Biden wins. It's going to have to be done on the outside. It still can get done. It's just going to be harder. And there'll be a lot more blood on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, last week it occurred to me, we got these documents back in June, I think, showing Hunter Biden traveled to 29 countries while his father was vice president. I mean, if we had a media worth its salt, they would have said, well, what was he doing in these 29 countries?
And I will not go into the photographic library, which is 29,000 photos, except to say the photos prove he really can't do an honest day's work.
Right. Well, I mean, he's got this affliction on top of the
which his father could have cured 30 years ago if he kept him out of this dirty business.
Yeah. So if let's take out who wins or loses. In the next few days, what do you think will be coming out, and what ought to happen in terms of law enforcement activity?
Well, I think Trump is going to win based on the same.
My concern is, Mr. Mayor, is that the Trump administration has shown that the Justice Department won't do its job too on other issues, and I don't know why. There's no reason we should presume that they'll be more aggressive.
So I would say that the president like me came into office with the knowledge that there was a lot of problems in Washington and a deep state. I probably knew it somewhat better than he did, but neither one of us or anyone around him really knew how bad it was. So I have to attribute some of this to the president couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that people could be this dishonest. He now believes it. It'll be a very different President Trump in that regard, and he'll act swiftly and quickly because he's a man who is ultimately guided by complete common sense. Extraordinary. And he makes mistakes, but he never makes the same mistake twice. He knows the agenda that he has, and he realizes now this is one of the things I promised to fix, but I didn't see the depth of it right away. He promised to fix the swamp, right? To drain the swamp. Well, he didn't drain the complete swamp, and that's why these people are after him so badly. You wonder about the whistleblower. I'm still not sure I can say his name, but the whistleblower was complete nonsense. Yeah. He was involved for 5 years in trying to get rid of Trump. And he hung in the administration, like in the holes of the administration. He was there 5 years ago telling Ukrainians to dig up dirt on Manafort and Trump. Same guy. Then he shows up 5 years later as the lying whistleblower.
Well, I recall warning a important incoming member of the administration. I won't say who he was. And I said, remember, the swamp has a lot of park rangers. And
you should have told me that. I tell you, I knew The last time I worked in Washington was under Ronald Reagan. I was the third ranking official in the Justice Department. And I thought it was pretty bad. And I used that model to advise him. And it was worse than he thought. But now it's totally,
Yeah,
I have no idea how we came to this.
the FBI was ruined by Mueller.
I have an idea of how this happened, which I'll put in my new book, I think. I think this began with Bill Clinton.
Oh,
I think that Bill Clinton took us to a new level of corruption that hadn't been true before, and particularly at the very top of the Democrat Party. I think most Democrats are decent, honest people. I think that they don't want a party like this, but they're fed such propaganda, they don't know any better. And that's why it's got to be fit. Basically, you got to chop the head off, and they'll straighten themselves out. And then we'll have a good competitive party that would do what it used to do. So they're slightly to the left and we're slightly to the right. We try to meet ourselves in a reasonable middle. We can't do that right now with the AOCs and the people that are hanging out there. They literally want a different kind of government.
Well, yeah,
they want a socialist government that's authoritarian.
I've always encouraged, and it's been frustrating to me because it's not being an anti-Democrat to tell Democrats they should remove corruption from their party. I don't want corruption in the Republican Party. I don't want the Democrat Party to be corrupt. I want people sitting around the table talking about taxes. That's fine. But if you're corrupt, you shouldn't have a seat at the table. It's that corruption that needs to be excised. And you remember Bill Clinton with the China money. Sally Painter, who was working for Burisma's company, she was involved in selling seats during the Commerce Department's trade mission scandal under Clinton.
100%. 100%. I think
for Clinton, the Chinese. It's all come back around again because we never corrected it to begin with.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.